I would like to call to order the Hinckley Township Board of Trustees public hearing at 5:30 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please, Martha?
Sure. Augustine
Here.
Spider.
Here.
Let's see, Marty. Yeah.
Here.
Oh, yeah, that's
Both
very
of
old,
me.
Very old, very much.
Okay.
Dating myself.
On behalf of the virtual audience, we ask that the public joining in person approach in the event that they would like to speak. They will need to announce their name and address prior to speaking. Additionally, we ask that the audience save personal conversation for after the meeting, as additional voices cause confusion for those attending virtually. The purpose of this hearing is to review the proposed amendment request to the Hinckley Township zoning resolution for the Township Zoning Commission as follows. Please bear with me. This is a lengthy notice to read. Amendment request to the district map, rezone all portions of permanent parcel number 016-03A35 016-03A 35018 016-03A 35017 016-03A 35002 016-03A 35003 016-03A 35007 016-03A 35004 016-03A 35005 016-03A 35006 016-03A 40001 016-03A 40003 016-03A 40002 016-03A 40041 016-03A 40005 016-03A 40006 016-03A 40008 016-03A 40007 016-03A 40009 016-03A 40010 016-03A 40011 016-03A 40012 016-03D 01013 016-03D 01012 016-03D 01018 016-03D 01010 016-03D 01001 016-03D 01002 016-03D 01003 016-03D 01004 016-03D 01005 016-03B 43018 016-03B 43022 016-03B 43013 016-03B 43012 016-03B 43011 016-03B 43010 016-03B 43009 016-03B 43008 016-03B 43007 016-03B 43006 016-03B 43004 016-03B 43003 016-03B 43002 016-03B 43001 016-03B 37019 016-03B 37020 016-03B 37017 016-03B 37027 016-03B 37021 016-03B 37014 016-03B 37013 016-03B 37012 016-3B 37011 016-03B 37009 016-03B 37010 016-03B 37008 01603B 37007, 0163B 37006, 0163B 37005, 0163A 40042, and 0163B 43005, presently zoned B2, Hinckley Town Center District to B3, Historic Town Center. Amendment request to the district map, rezone permanent parcel number 03D 09048, 01603D 15006, 01603D 09009, 01603D 09049, 01603D 09012, and 01603D 09013 from B1 General Business District to R1 Single Family Residential District. Amendment request to the zoning regulations. Amendment to the following chapters: 3, definitions, chapter 4, general regulations, chapter 5, districts and maps, chapter 6, districts and regulations, chapter 7, conditional zoned certificate, chapter 11, site plan review, chapter 16, sexually oriented businesses, and chapter 18, alternative energy facilities, and grammar changes throughout to correct spelling, references to zoning resolution, page numbers, etc. After the conclusion of this hearing within 20 days, the Township Board of Trustees shall either adopt, deny, or modify the recommendations of the Township Zoning Commission. If the board adopts, denies, or modifies the Township Zoning Commission's recommendations, a majority of the Township Board of Trustees shall be required. Copies of the proposed amendment will be available for public viewing from the date of the notice to the hearing, date of the hearing at the zoning department located at the Administration Building, 1410 Ridge Road on Monday, 10 a.m., Tuesday through Thursday, 9 to 2, and Friday, 9 to noon. Information may also be found on the Hinckley Township website at hinkley.wp.org under Community Township News and Events titled Township Trustees Public Hearing. All interested parties were asked to attend the hearing. Written comments may be sent to Hinckley Township Board of Trustees at P.O. Box 344, Hinckley, Ohio 44233, or log in at hinkleytownship.org for a virtual Zoom option to observe/listen only. In accordance with Ohio Revised Code 519-12, proper notification advertised in the Medina County Gazette November 22nd and 2022, and notice to property owners for map amendment to rezone parcels located near Bellis Road and Hinckley Hills Road from B1 General Business and district to R1 residential district. Although no written notification was required due to the significance of the proposed map amendment rezoning the B1 district to R1, the township also mailed notice to the affected property owners. So with that said, I would like to introduce Chairman Fisher of the Zoning Commission with the recommendations offered by the Zoning Commission.
Perfect. Thank you, Trustee. So the amendment was really broken down into 3 separate parts. There was a text amendment, there's a map amendment that's rezoning the current B2 in Town Center to B3, and there's the proposed rezoning of the B1 district at the corner of Hinckley Hills and Bellis to R1. Those recommendations were the process, I think since the inception, most of you have been actively engaged through virtual attendance or physical attendance at our meetings. So I'll spare you a lot of the discussion that went into those proposed amendments. I'm here for any questions that you might have. The Medina Planning Commission was sent all 3 of these different proposals. With respect to the text amendment, they proposed they recommended accepting the proposed amendments with modifications. Those modifications were incorporated into our text amendment as we've sent it to you. With respect to the rezoning from B2 to B3 of Town Center, they recommended approval of that. That is consistent with then what the Zoning Commission also recommended to the trustees. With respect to the text amendment, the Zoning Commission also recommended approval. With respect to the rezoning from B1 to R1, the Planning Commission recommended against that rezoning, and the Zoning Commission agreed with that and further recommended not rezoning from B1 to R1. If there's any other questions or any specific areas of the text amendment that you would like me to speak about, I'm happy to do so. But otherwise, I'll let the general public speak first and then answer any questions you might have.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen so that everyone in the audience can see the map that we're discussing this evening.
Chairman Augustine, do you want to break these down since there may be specific discussion as to each individual?
Yeah, I'm just going to show this first because I think it's kind of confusing. I'm noticing with citizens not fully understanding what we're doing here. So currently we have a B1 area that is over here. Can you guys see that spot right there? And our B2 was town center as well as this area. And what we're doing is we're adapting the map so that this is now an additional area. So we would have 3 business areas. That's the first part of the map amendment. The second part of the map amendment is this area right here, which is currently a B1. And there was discussion about potentially making that a residential area, which is an R1. That was denied by the zoning commission. So that's the map for everyone to see before we start our discussion. As far as the text amendment changes, I have those in front of me. If anyone wants to see them, I'm certainly willing to share them, but I would just be scrolling through the zoning resolution. So at this time, I'd like to go ahead and open up the floor and have any citizens that would like to speak come to the podium and state their name. Okay.
My name is Lisa Rushworth, 1006 Bellis Road. Speaking to all 3 sets of changes. Specific to Buzzard Cove, a problem was asked to be addressed. The potential uses in a B1 district aren't really harmonious with the surrounding residential community there. And the point of zoning is to promote the health and safety of the neighborhood. There was a lot of discussion about how the existing use is unsafe and unharmonious, which was a little moot because changing the zoning wouldn't change the current use. Our concern was more in the other possible future uses, and in making the changes that are in this without the map change. The zoning commission has really failed to make any effort to protect the surrounding community in that area, and nothing about what Buzzard Cove is doing or what they are doing, but that the properties that are zoned B1 there can have any of the permitted or conditional uses in a B1 district. There had been some discussion about, they call it spot zoning, right? Making something different to restrict the uses for that, because that business district really is different than what you might traditionally think of as a business district where it's a bunch of businesses neighboring other businesses. This is a very small area that was never really commercially developed outside of that mini golf. So you've got one business surrounded by, on all sides, many, many, many different houses. Even if the other couple of lots were to change into some business use, they're still surrounded by residences on the front, up the hill on the back, across the street to the north and the south. Leaving that a B1 would permit any of those uses. You could have retail that's over 12,000 square foot, even as a conditional use, a bar or a nightclub, even like the senior housing that went in on West 130th. So we just wanted to express that we don't think this change is really sufficient for addressing that part of the community. Thank you.
So you would like to see it for the record as an R1?
We would like to see it as an R1, and I mean there was some other discussion in the zoning commission about making it put the potential for making it a different zone that had a very limited subset of uses. So it couldn't be the next drug mart right next to the park, or the senior housing or whatever. They chose not to go down that path. They preferred the zoning it as residential path, which as a neighbor, certainly it is a neighborhood. It's a community, people live there, and having potential future uses of residential would certainly be our preference. So yeah, I mean, there were other options that we would have been happy with as well, but given the choice between leaving it like it is and changing it to residential, we strongly support putting it as a residential. Thank you.
And Lisa, did you say you had comments on all three?
Well, I mean, it's a group of changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't like it wasn't like they were getting together to talk about Buzzard Cove, right?
Mm-hmm.
They went in and they made changes to what downtown was classified as, restricted the uses there, without actually addressing the other part of the community where we definitely have, health concerns, safety concerns with the existing uses, and a lot of concerns about the potential future uses, given the way that it's zoned today.
Mm-hmm.
So as a totality, in my view, it's not done yet. So I would either not accept any of it and do it as a complete unit, or make the change with the Buzzard Cove being a residential property, which again, kind of as a totality addresses the concerns in our neighborhood too.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
No, I do not have any.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the board? Since we're on that specific topic of Hinckley Hills and Bellows Road, I was going to say, can we just take comments on that specific area at this time so that the trustees can stay organized within the two different map amendments? Yeah, feel free. I'm sorry. Sometimes I can't see because of the podium.
Hello, my name's Nancy Leitner. I'm at 1675 Hinckley Hills Road, and I have in October submitted an email with my concerns regarding the change from B1 to R1. And I'll just briefly state that when we purchased the property years ago, that was one of the reasons we purchased it. And I'm just not sure how to get an answer, if I can get an answer on how this could affect the value of my property. I do have an intention to put a small business on my property. I have 2 parcels there. So I'm directly affected by this change. And I guess I'm here to say that I am opposed to the change. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you refresh my memory what kind of business it was?
It would be a small dog boarding facility and just some pet-centered business. So, okay. Mm-hmm.
Does anyone have any questions for Nancy?
Mm-mm.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else have questions or comments on the Hinckley Hills and Bellows Road map amendment?
Julie Mainzer, 1727 Hinckley Hills Road. Just wanted to go on record. I think you guys were at the other meetings, but wanted to go on record saying that at this point, I'm against it, just because of the health and safety being right next to Buzzard Cove. I'm sure you guys are aware of all the issues that we are currently having and the fact that nothing is really getting done to resolve it. And that just moving forward to rezoning is not, it seems like it's going too fast without fixing some of the problems, because it's going to impose even further hardships on us. And we did buy our property when we purchased it, knowing full well with the intention that it was zoned the way it was. So, like I said, I would recommend not turning it into a residential property at this time until some of the other items, the nuisance, for one, needs to be cleaned up to protect the citizens that use that area on that corner.
Thank you. Do the trustees have any questions for Julie?
No.
Anyone else specific to the map amendment at Hinckley Hills and Bellows Road?
Evening. My name is Gary Jenrich, 1672 Skyline Drive, and I border the back part of the property there. We've had difficulties, as you're aware, over the years with that particular property. And I don't know if this is the solution, but certainly it seems like why not stop them from being able to put in these other things that we certainly don't want there. Perhaps now is the time to do that. This change that is suggested, I would recommend that it be done. I'm in favor of the change. And that enough said. So thank you.
Do the trustees have any questions?
Mm-mm.
Anyone else specific to this area? Okay, I think we'll move along then to the next map amendment where we will be making the town center a historic district in its own business district. Does anyone have any questions or comments on that map amendment? Trustees? I'm not seeing any hands past the podium that I'm not seeing.
No. I don't see any hands.
Okay, and the text amendment changes. Do we have any questions or comments specific to the text amendment changes? Okay. Do we want to hear anything more from Chairman Fisher? Or we have any other further questions for Chairman Fisher?
Marcus, where does B2 end up being anywhere else then?
Yes, there's a B2 up at the corner of West 130th.
Any little piece up there? That's
correct.
That was the only piece. Okay.
Correct. And that was the purpose of when you look at the types of establishments that you see up there,
Right.
It's very distinct from town center. So the goal was to break those apart so that we can have different setbacks, different design standards. They have very different characteristics to them. So we were just breaking those apart for purposes of future zoning.
So does that
Unique
become
to the
business
community.
or does that become the light business? Which
That becomes, that remains the B2. So we're not rezoning that section.
the
Of there.
light business district would be B3. Is that correct or not?
If you looked at them in terms of restrictions, B1 is the least restrictive,
Not talking
B3.
about as far as titles go.
The light business is B2, historic town center is B3.
B3. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Anything else, trustees?
Where did you guys get the name historic town district? Like where did that come? Like that's one thing I've just scratched my head at so many times because we have the historical building and we have Binky's. Am I missing something else?
Good question. I actually think,
Call it Binky business district.
I mean, maybe the B3, but I don't understand. I mean, that makes up like such a small percentage of it. So
yeah, I really think it's twofold. One, I felt like there was something in the comprehensive plan that described it as maintaining that more historic nature. But two is the goal of maintaining it as this close, small knit, more historic, more Western Reserve feel to it. And so that's where we're going with, I think, the renaming of it to Historic Town Center.
It doesn't matter what the title is. You're looking to put some design characteristics in it too.
Correct.
Right.
The title by itself is meaningless and has no enforcement value to it.
Does anyone else have any questions or concerns before we adjourn?
I do not.
mm-mm.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the public hearing at 5:53 p.m.
Second.
Seconded by Astral. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye.